Welcome to another episode of the AZ Sports Podcast. It's your host, Kevin Humphreys. Thank you guys for watching or listening. Please like and subscribe. If you want more Arizona sports content in your life, I'm going to be pumping out more and more episodes and more segments as we get going into football and basketball season. And as the Diamondbacks continue to make us the most frustrated fan base in the major leagues. That's right. I said it and I believe it. Let's get into today's show. And unfortunately, we have to start with the very bad. The Arizona Diamondbacks dropped a home series against the worst team in the National League, the Colorado Rockies. Not just that, but it's another division opponent, and we need every win versus a division opponent that we can get because that is the second tiebreaker in these wild card standings. So the more teams we lose to in the division, the worse it gets for us, unfortunately. Now we have built up a good lead because we've dominated the Rockies and Giants so far, but every win matters so much. And to make a wild card, to make it into the playoffs, you have to show out against teams like the Rockies. You cannot let these opportunities drop from you. But that's exactly what the Diamondbacks did the last 2 days. The first game was great. They started out hot, won the game 9-0. Michael Soroka was back. Zach Littell looked great in his relief appearance as well. But that's where the good news basically came to an end. On Tuesday, after Corbin, Carroll, and Ketel Marte solo homered in the first inning, they didn't score another run for the rest of the game. Their offense was honestly just dominated. It was just dominated by Tomoyuki Sagano. I mean, he was just better than the Diamondbacks. And it's not the first time the Diamondbacks have seen him this year. And it wasn't the first time that they struggled against him. This is just a guy that they struggled with. But with that being said, they still had a 2-0 lead until the sixth inning where Mitch Bratt finally relinquished 2 runs after going 7 innings scoreless and going 5 innings scoreless so far against the Colorado Rockies and San Diego Padres. So he was on a run of not letting anyone score over 12 innings. So it wasn't a surprise that he eventually gave up a run and a home run, to be exact. But what was the real bummer was that the hit they got on base before the home run was just an infield single. Arenado tried to make a great play on a slow hit ball to third base, scooped it up bare hand, threw it right over to first base, but the runner was just safe in the nick of time. And so instead of it being a 1-run home run, it ended up being a 2-run home run. Definitely a break that went against the Diamondbacks. And then Kevin Ginkel gave up a triple to Hunter Goodman, the Rockies' best player. And that run scored in the 7th inning, and the Diamondbacks could not muster up any runs to get back into the game. It was just frustrating because we've seen this time and time again from the Diamondbacks, more so today, but also yesterday, where they have guys on base and they're just unable to come up with the big hit. I don't know I'm sure it's something that they know is going on, and that might be putting even more pressure on themselves than there already is. Just when you typically come up to bat and have to knock in a run home. But for whatever reason, the Diamondbacks have been really bad at that this season since around the end of May. They were really good at it in the first month and a half, 2 months of the season. And then the last few months they've been bad at it. They had started to turn it around over the last few weeks, but in this Rockies series, we saw it rear its ugly head again. And that gets us to the rubber match where, okay, we can at least salvage the series by winning today. We won't lose any ground in the wild card race, and we'll be fine. But unfortunately, the Diamondbacks had one of the craziest offensive performances that I've ever witnessed, and the Diamondbacks do a lot of crazy things, but The D-backs became the first team since 2019 to have 10 plus hits, 10 plus walks, and score less than 5 runs per stat head. That was a tweet from Kellen Olson. But there were other wild stats. Like, I think the Diamondbacks were 21. The Diamondbacks were 21-0 before today when they got at least 10 walks and 11 hits and had 21 base runners. And Torey Lovullo said after the game, if you had told me we would have had 21 guys on base, I would have said we scored 10 plus runs. And yeah, they should have, because the Diamondbacks had the bases loaded in the 5th inning, in the 6th inning, in the 7th inning. And then when Corbin Carroll hit a home run in the 8th inning, 2 more guys got on base after that. But again, Diamondbacks could not get a hit with runners in scoring position. Or if they couldn't, and if they walked, which they did a lot of today, which was really impressive, they couldn't walk those guys home. I believe it was just Ildemaro Vargas who walked a guy home when in a bases loaded situation, but it was just yet again another incomprehensibly frustrating offensive day for the Diamondbacks because they were so good. And then when they needed one big hit to break the game open, one big hit was all it was going to take to launch them right back into the game. They couldn't get it, and they lost this game 6-4, thanks to Merrill Kelly, who pitched 5 innings, allowed 6 earned runs, 6 hits, 3 walks, and had 2 Ks. He had an ERA of 2.82 over his last 7 starts, but today was his 8th outing this season with at least 5 earned runs, which is a career high. His 5.11 ERA is like bottom 5 among starting pitchers who qualify in baseball. Those stats are from Alex Weiner from Arizona Sports. And it's just been, I mean, I don't know what to say. Geraldo Perdomo had 2 hits today. Ketel Marte found his way on 4 times today. Corbin Carroll had a home run and a triple. We finally got production from the top of the lineup, and yet we still were not able to score more than 4 runs, even though we had 21 players reach base today. And, if they had done this against a team that had a good pitching staff, we would have said, hey, like, credit the other team. They just pitched when it mattered most. But this is the Rockies. They have the worst pitching staff, starting and relieving staff in baseball. This wasn't them being good. This was the Diamondbacks giving us, they were the New York Knicks against the Reggie Miller Pacers, just choking it, which is something we've seen from this Diamondbacks team before, unfortunately. And now, if we go to Major League Baseball odds, playoff odds, which I haven't looked at a ton this season, but we can look at it right now. Right now, the Diamondbacks are 64-57. They're projected to win about 20 of their last 41 games and lose 20 of their last 41 games. So that does not bode well for a Diamondbacks team that needs every win that they can get because they have a really brutal schedule to end the season. Like, they still have to play the Padres, they have to play the Phillies, they're going to the Braves, they have to play the Red Sox. Like, things do not get easier for this Diamondbacks team coming up. They get the day off tomorrow, and then they play in Atlanta and then go to Boston for their next 2 series. And we will have a more in-depth look at that Friday morning. I'll go live on Friday morning for that as well. But anyway, to the playoff odds. So in the last 30 days, the Diamondbacks, because they had the best record in baseball in July, went plus 3-4. They were plus 34.7% chance to make the playoffs. In the last 7 days, their odds have changed by 1%, a positive 1%, because they were able to beat the Dodgers in a series. But in the last day, it's gone down by 11. Right now, they're at a 50.9% chance to make the postseason, which means Before the Rockies series, they were probably around a 60 to 65% chance to make the playoffs. So this series really, really hurt this team. It really hurt this team. You had to win today. And looking back, we'll probably look back. If the Diamondbacks don't make the playoffs, you'll look back and say, man, they probably should have won both games against the Rockies. And that could have been the difference. It could have been the difference between them making the playoffs and not. I know at the end of the season, today's game, and there are a few other games where the Diamondbacks left 15, 16 guys on base that they lost. I'm going to go back and circle all of those games and say, it was right here. We just couldn't get it done. Just could not get it done, which is the worst, because a lot of it feels like if we just were average with runners in scoring position, we would probably be in a better position like the Chicago Cubs are right now, instead of teams like the Phillies and the Padres, which, let's get back to the standings right now. The San Diego Padres have a 1-game lead over the Arizona Diamondbacks and Philadelphia Phillies. The last two teams are tied at 64 and 58 for that final wild card spot. It's just brutal right now. We just have to be better. We just have to be better. All right, now to the one positive thing that came from today, and it's the Arizona Diamondbacks' Corbin Carroll. Corbin Carroll, per Jody Jackson and the Diamondbacks, is the only player in MLB history to reach 50-plus triples, 100-plus home runs, and 100-plus stolen bases within 650 career games. He's the second player in MLB history to do so in 700 career games, joining Willie Mays, who had 55, 169 home runs, and 108 stolen bases. Corbin has 100 homers, 139 stolen bases, and 57 triples. So Mays has him beat pretty significantly in home runs. But, I mean, that's rare air to be in. So that's super awesome for Corbin Carroll that he's one of the only guys to ever do that. 100 plus home runs and 50 plus triples before his 610th career game. That's Corbin Carroll, Lou Gehrig, and Joe DiMaggio. That's per Sarah Langs. So, like, Corbin is doing some historic stuff as an Arizona Diamondback. And even with his recent struggles, it's still good to know that he's on pace to have a Hall of Fame career and be one of the best players to ever do it in a Diamondbacks uniform, and one of the best players to ever do it as an MLB baseball player ever, period. So that should excite us as Diamondback fans. Moving on. Is Matt Ishbia broke? Matt Ishbia this week, his UWM stake took a 35% one-day drop and reported, posted a 451.9 million Q2 loss on August 5th. The culprit, the reason behind it, was a 603.2 million hedging loss to a failed acquisition. He was trying to acquire Two Harbors, a company called Two Harbors, which was it was a big bet that company would increase Matt Ishbia's business. But because the deal to acquire Two Harbors fell through, Matt Ishbia's money that he put out there dropped. So they stopped giving out dividends and a whole lot more. It is definitely a big hit to Matt Ishbia's company. I am not a financial expert, so I don't know all the ins and outs, but bottom line is, after reading multiple articles, Matt Ishbia lost a lot of money. But reading from Bright Side of the Sun, and if you look at tweet from John Gambadoro, He says, wild story, yes, but will have zero effect on Phoenix Suns. Will not matter at all. Guy is still one of the richest owners in all of sports. Investment in the team, fans, and community will not change. And that's the exact same thing that So Says Jay says on Bright Side of the Sun as well. As long as it doesn't turn into UWM's version of the Bradley Beal trade, Ishbia and the Suns should be just fine. So, while you may be seeing headlines about Matt Ishbia losing money, his business is losing money. Yes, Matt Ishbia's business took a loss, but it wasn't a loss significant enough for him to even think about selling the Suns, although maybe seeing how much the Lakers got sold for, maybe Matt Ishbia feels like he can make a few billion right now. If he goes out there and tries to sell the Phoenix Suns, I'm sure he could get probably a pretty penny back after the Lakers went for $12 million, $12 billion today. Holy cow. So, bottom line is Matt Ishbia, not a broke boy, still very much in control of the Phoenix Suns. If things continue to go worse for Matt Ishbia, we'll quickly see results, whether that's him cutting salary, cutting, maybe he goes out and tries to get a much more lucrative TV deal. Maybe he cuts the family meal nights where you can get cheap hot dogs and popcorns. If Matt Ishbia is hurting for money, the Phoenix Suns fans will feel it. But as for right now, I am not concerned. And, as we've seen from Matt Ishbia, he likes to take risks. He knows there's risks involved in business and in sports. If they don't work out, he'll do his best to regroup, rebound, and maybe United Wholesale Mortgage will have a bounce back season just like the Suns did last year, and everything will be okay. If you like Matt Ishbia as an owner, that's what you're hoping for. If you don't like Matt Ishbia as an owner, I can see that. I think, when he talks, he talks so much and so fast, and the way he delivers things, sometimes it can feel inauthentic. But as for me, what Ishbia has done for the Suns, I think he's trying to do the right thing. It hasn't gone perfectly for him with the Kevin Durant trades, but I do expect Ishbia to figure it out, and he's starting to figure it out as an owner. And his investment into the Suns is something that we wanted for so long when Robert Sarver was our owner. So as long as he continues to invest at the level he has, he's going to be a great owner for the Phoenix Suns, and he will eventually deliver on his promise to bring a championship to Phoenix, as long as he's not too stubborn to get out of his own way. So, Matt Ishbia, not a broke boy, but it was interesting that a couple days after this news dropped that they did cut Haywood Highsmith. Now, Haywood Highsmith was not making that much money. He was making like $1 million guaranteed. I'm not exactly sure why the Suns cut him. Doesn't seem like it was going to help them out with the tax purposes very much. But there might be another guy out there that is on the market for them to sign. We'll see pretty soon, because training camp is only a little over a month away, and I'm sure they would like to have that last roster spot filled going into training camp. Maybe there's a trade coming up where the Suns are trading one guy for two smaller parts, or it's a multiple person trade and they need an extra space to fill a returning player. That could be something that is happening. Maybe it's just to give them flexibility going into the season. That's, in my opinion, that's the most likely reason why they traded Haywood Highsmith. I don't think that there's another guy out there in free agency that they want to go sign over him. My guess is that there might be a move coming, whether it's a big move like trading Jalen Green, or a smaller move like trading Ryan Dunn for two other players, or something along those lines, kind of an ancillary move. But the Suns might recognize they have a log jam at some roster positions right now, and maybe they're like, hey, we'll trade Ryan Dunn if we can get a more proven vet that can shoot better. Maybe that's what they're thinking. But You never know with this Suns team. You never know if they're going to go out and land a big fish. They did it with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. You never know just exactly who they're going to sign. They got Tyus Jones, which in the moment felt like a huge pickup late into the offseason. So you never know with this Suns team, but they are always trying to make this roster better. And I don't think this Haywood Highsmith move has anything to do with Matt Ishbia's finances, and it has everything to do with the Phoenix Suns making a move to become an even better basketball team. Lastly, and we won't spend too much time on this because the game is tomorrow, and there will be a whole lot more to talk about after the game, and it is the Arizona Cardinals against the Las Vegas Raiders. And we heard this week from Mike LaFleur that the Arizona Cardinals are going to play their starters 1 to 2 series, most likely not anything more than that. But it will be nice to see Jacoby Brissett, Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Jeremiah Love, Tyler Algier. There's a lot of new pieces or the same pieces being used differently in Mike LaFleur's system. So it's super exciting to see this offense for the first time, hopefully fully geared up and ready to go. Obviously, the best case scenario is that this Cardinals team comes out, has a phenomenal first drive. They go down, they score a touchdown. Maybe Mike LaFleur pulls the plug immediately. Maybe there's things he wants to get to in a second drive. And then the Cardinals go down again and score another touchdown. And then the starters get pulled out. And hopefully, because the Raiders are playing their first string players as well, hopefully the Cardinals defense goes out, gets a 3 and out, goes out, gets another 3 and out. And then the plug gets pulled on them as well. Obviously, more than anything, that the first 2 series, the first quarter of this football game is the most important football we're going to see so far this season. The Hall of Fame game was great, but the only guys of significance that we really saw in that game was Carson Beck and Chase Bisontis, who both played exceptionally well, which bodes well for them, hopefully playing well against the Raiders. And Chase Bisontis is definitely a guy I have circled to see, hey, does he get any looks with the first team offense? Because Isaiah Adams and Elijah Wilkinson have not been blocking well, according to Cardinals media that's been at practices. So can Chase Bisontis work his way into a first string role throughout this training camp? I hope so. We're going to see. That's definitely an under the radar one you want to watch. Obviously, we're looking to see how does Jacoby to Marvin look? How does Jacoby to Trey McBride look? How does Jacoby to Michael Wilson look? And guess what? One of those guys probably isn't going to get that many targets because they're only going to play 2 drives. And then we're going to overreact and say, wow, Jacoby Brissett didn't even get a target to Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, is he cooked? And we're going to overreact about that. And then we're going to see highlights of Marvin playing well in practice and playing bad in practice. And then we'll overreact to that. Or the same goes for Michael Wilson, right? This game is the only thing we can go off of that our eyes tell us. But you won't find me overreacting about anything unless Carson Beck goes out there in the second half and leads every single drive that the Cardinals have. He leads the Cardinals to a touchdown in every single drive. Then you might hear me overreact. You might hear me say some crazy things. But even then, this is Jacoby Brissett's job. Carson Beck is applying pressure on Brissett, which was always going to be there. I always thought coming into the season, Carson Beck at some point is going to start around week 8, week 10, week 12 at some point, assuming the Cardinals are not in a playoff race. At some point, Carson's going to play. But they're going to give Jacoby a long road before they pull the plug. Like, they will not be in playoff contention. They have to not be in playoff contention to pull the plug. And now I know the first 11 games of this season, the first 13 games of this season, heck, the first the first 14 games of this season are extremely difficult. They have some softballs at the end with like the Jets and the Saints, who could be improved teams as well. I don't want to discount them completely, but you look at this schedule and it's incredibly tough, mostly because of the division that they play in. And so, yes, is it likely this team doesn't make the playoffs? But the Cardinals still, at least according to Monty Austinfort, who's probably on the hot seat, really wants to make a playoff push because he hasn't made the playoffs in his time as the general manager of the Arizona Cardinals. So he really wants to make the playoffs, and he's going to do everything in his power. He's going to make sure that the Cardinals are all in on this season because he needs to make the playoffs to keep his job. So the other storylines, obviously, Jacoby Brissett, how does he look in a new offense? Marvin Harrison Jr., already talked about him. Him and Michael Wilson, that's going to be the battle this entire season. We've seen, some people we've seen some Cardinals media kind of say that Michael Wilson is wide receiver one or looks like wide receiver one. We'll see if that's true, and I hope we get to see some offensive creativity from LaFleur in this game. I know most teams like to keep the preseason pretty bland because they don't want to show anything for the regular season. But at the same time, you got to get these guys as many reps as they can in a new offense. So I hope that this is just the beginning for this Cardinals first team in the preseason. I hope they play even more in the following games as well, because in my opinion, the more reps you can get against a different looking defense than your own, the better before the regular season. Because if you want to start the regular season hot, I don't think you can kind of sleepwalk your way through the first couple of games like teams tend to do at the beginning of the season. And a lot of that, in my opinion, is because they just don't play that many snaps of preseason football. Now, I know they play snaps of football every day, but I just think in my opinion, I think it's different. And I think the best teams or the smartest teams try and play their players in preseason as much as possible. Coming off Super Bowls, Andy Reid and the Chiefs were playing all their guys and getting their guys a lot of preseason snaps. So I hope that we get to see a lot of Jacoby Brissett and a lot of Marvin Harrison Jr. and a lot of Michael Wilson and a lot of Jeremiah Love and a lot of Tyler Algier in the preseason, not just this game. I know this game will only see him for a couple of series, but I want to see these guys and I want to see this skill position that looks pretty tasty on paper come to life. And then for this defense, we just got to stay healthy. I think this defense was pretty bad. It's inarguable they were really bad last season, but there were a lot of injuries too. So maybe Mac Wilson and Walter Nolan and Will Johnson and all of our guys being 100% healthy, maybe we look more like a middle of the pack defense. I'm not expecting the Cardinals to be a good to great defense, but if we can just finish inside the top 20 defensively and our offensive skill position our offensive skill position talent can carry us to scoring a lot of points, then this Cardinals team might be a little bit better than everyone thinks. It might not be a playoff team, but we might be a lot more improved because of the coaching, because we added some really good skill position players, especially Tyler Algier and Jeremiah Love. That'll help the running back game out a lot. Hopefully this offensive line can figure it out. I think that's my main concern offensively. Defensively, it's definitely the defensive line and at the cornerback position as well. Those two are kind of the cornerback position across from Will Johnson. Those are two main areas of concern for this defense. But if you have Walter Nolan playing well and you have Darius Robinson playing well, and if you can get Josh Sweat, who knows if he plays a game in an Arizona Cardinals uniform again, it seems like there's something afoot there. But Monty Austinfort said that Josh Sweat is not going anywhere. So for now, we probably just take him at his word, and hopefully Sweat comes off the PP list and has another incredible season in a Cardinals uniform. And then if the Cardinals trade him at the deadline and get value on him, great. Because he's not an old player, but for the Cardinals championship window, probably not being in the next couple of seasons, getting a really solid pick for him at the trade deadline wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Or if, he actually is just injured and there's no contract disputes and there's no, I don't want to be in Arizona anymore disputes, then, you know, hopefully Sweat can come back and be one of the best defensive ends, outside linebackers in football this season. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night, and I can't wait to break everything down on Friday. I will see you guys next time on the AZ Sports Podcast. Uh, Thank you for watching or listening. Please like and subscribe. Follow AZ Sports Podcast wherever you can get podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and look for us to be posting more on social media. I keep saying that, and I mean it. At some point, we'll start posting every single day on the socials. Give us a follow there as well. And if any of you would like to voice your fandom concerns on any of these teams, please let me know. Please reach out to me. My email is in the YouTube, and you can hit me in any of the social medias as well. Thanks, and have a great rest of your night.